I don't think I'll ever knit that pile of other yarn. Picking up something new, more color work knitting. Cannot wait to buddy knit this. Good things take time. I try to do a knit along, accumulating a bit of a stash. I'm always playing yarn chicken and losing. Let's dive into my yarn stash, shall we? Hi cozy friends, and welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Morgan and I love to unravel my anxious mind with my cozy hobbies, mostly reading and knitting. And in this video we are going to be talking a lot about knitting. I want to go through my yarn stash with you, tell you all my project plans, and hopefully get some ideas from you as well. We moved abroad from the United States to Australia in April, and since then I have been accumulating a bit of a stash. I had to leave a lot of my yarn in storage back in the States because we're only going to be here for a couple years, so I really didn't feel like it was worth bringing a lot of my stash, especially because I didn't feel like I had projects planned for a lot of it. I've been pretty intentional as I picked up yarns with planning what projects I'm going to be knitting them with. I feel like since I've started making these videos, I have just been endlessly inspired and even more motivated to knit and make plans for my future knits. Lately, I've been doing a buddy knit of the cumulus blouse with two of my Aussie knitting friends. I have a gift knit coming up. I'm always wanting to work on a new cable pattern. I would love to get some more staple pieces for a bit of a capsule wardrobe. I would love to know what projects are high up in your queue, what you're working on right now, or if we have any in common throughout this video. But we have a lot of yarn and projects to talk about, so let's dive on in. My friend Mickey and I went to the Makery local yarn store here in Canberra, Australia, and we got Cascade Yarns, the Heritage line. It is a sock yarn. It is 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. My main color is the color macadamia. I got so eager to wind it up so that I could gauge swatch soon. So I don't have a hank of my contrast color anymore, but this is my contrast color. It is the same yarn in the color bark. We are going to be knitting the porcelain sweater by Les Knit. I am so excited because this has been one of those patterns where every time I see someone has made it, I have so much FOMO. I want that in my wardrobe so badly. It is such a classic, beautiful design. Literally a couple weeks ago, I would have told you I don't think I'll ever knit that. Even though I really, really want to, I was having so much issues with my color work tension that I did not think would block out, but it did. I will link my last knitting podcast where I talk about my experience knitting the Wood Folk beanie by the petiteknit as a new color work knitter. Blocking is truly magic, especially for color work, and I'm actually able to wear the beanie. So because of how that all worked out, I do feel a newfound sense of confidence towards attempting more color work knitting. From what I hear from some of my friends who have knit it, it's not that hard of a beginner color work project. So I think for this being my first color work sweater, it will be fun. However, I am afraid of the idea of color work being flat and having to do color work on the wrong side. But one of my favorite things about knitting is embracing learning new techniques and skills. I think that is why I love knitting so very much. So I try to not shy away from picking up something new, opening up a tutorial and figuring it out. I think the motifs on this sweater are so lovely. I love the leaves, I love the flowers, and it almost looks like a mosaic tile. I think this is going to make such a beautiful sweater. This is my first time purchasing a really nice local yarn for a full-size sweater. I think this is going to be such a luxurious process knit. Some of my knits feel like very much progress knit. Once I cast them on, I just want to whip them up, and I can't wait to get them on my body. And I think I was that way even with this one, even though this really should be a long-term knit with how much cable work it is. But I'm really looking forward to us buddy knitting this. My main color is actually going to be my friend's contrast color. She got the same macadamia color for her contrast, and she's going to be knitting the porcelain a bit inverted. And she did get a brown as well for her main color, but it's a little lighter of a tone, and it almost had a bit of a green hue to it. I'll get her to send me a picture of her yarn so I can put that on the screen, but I cannot wait to buddy knit this together. It's going to be so much fun. Before we committed to getting the yarns for the porcelain while we were there. I had picked out this beautiful green color in the same yarns because I wanted to knit the Mudo socks from the Petite Knitter. My friend Heidi that I met up with for a knitting date here actually was knitting the Mudo socks, and I had no idea at the time that she knit them in this same yarn, but I really wanted to do this color combination for the socks. The size I'm going to be knitting for the sweater will use 2.5 hanks of this, so I'll probably use the remaining quantity for knitting the Mudo socks if I can wait that long. We will certainly get back into sweaters in a minute, but another sock yarn I've picked up since getting here is Black Wattle's sock yarn set. This actually came with another sock yarn. It came with a second mini in this pack, and I thought it was so cool that it came with 2 minis, and I actually used some of this on my Sweet Pea socks that I knit with Highland Cow yarn from Sweet Pea and Sparrow in the US, along with that mini skein from Black Wattle. I have yet to pick a pattern I'm going to knit these with, but I really want to knit some more The Petite Knitter socks and also some more socks from Summer Lee because she actually is doing The next one is actually right there and it is already wound up, but this is Knit Picks Simply Wool in the color Winnie. I bought this for my husband's cardigan. He requested a men's cardigan, and I'll put on the screen the one he wants. It is the Mill for Men by Regina Mosmer. I hope I'm saying that right. This is a worsted weight eco wool yarn. My husband's main requests for his cardigan were that it would have a big collar and that it would be in the color beige. And when I was trying to order more yarn to be able to complete my book club cardigan, I was ordering from Knit Picks and I saw this yarn was on a 50% off sale at the time, so I snagged a ton of it. 10 skeins in this bag and then 4 more of these, well, 3 of these now, and one of them wound up because I went ahead and gauge swatched for it. But because of the 50% off sale, I think in USD, I spent like $70 on all of that yarn, which is really crazy. Based on his measurements and my gauge, I'm probably going to knit him somewhere between a size medium and large. There is a different cast on count under each of the arms so that it's a bit unsymmetrical, so that it is a bit asymmetrical for the overlap of the collar. I do think there's a bit of wiggle room in that underarm cast on count so that I can try to land his sizing somewhere between a medium and a large, which is really where he falls. And I think that's one really fun thing about knitting your own items for your wardrobe is that you really have the control of your sizing and fitting things to your body where you want them to flatter you, and also make them in durable fibers that are going to hold up and be able to maintain over years. I anticipate that I will be using about 7 skeins of this, and like I said, I have 14, so the remaining quantity is definitely going to be used for a self knit. I'm probably going to make a nice cable work sweater or cardigan with it, probably a cable work sweater, because I really would love some more of those in my wardrobe. I was thinking it might be fun to either make the Ingrid or the Moby sweater from Petite Knit with this yarn. The next yarn I also ordered from Knit Picks on a really steep discount, and it is their Heatherly worsted weight yarn in the color Sea Glass. It is such a lovely color, and I got this in order to be able to make the Salty Days sweater by Kutovakika. I love her designs, and I really feel like every time I see this one on Instagram, whether it's from her posts or anyone else making it, I'm like, I want to cast this on right now. It is honestly like, I think one of my dream knits, and I don't know why I haven't made it yet, especially since this yarn is now in my possession and this is the perfect yarn for it. She made the Salty Days sweater inspired by her time at the shores of Portugal, so I think having a yarn named Sea Glass is so fitting for it. I'm hoping that it won't wash me out. I have been watching videos lately about color theory and knowing your color season. I actually was just watching another video on that this morning from the Two Pearls in a Pod podcast. They were some of the hosts of the book club cardigan knit along, so I really love to watch them, and I've been giving some thought to like what color season I may fall fall into. I really do think I'm an autumn person, but maybe that's just me and being a folklore girly. Let me know in the comments, do you really consider what colors flatter you the most, or do you just grab whatever colors like call to your eye the most? I think both are very valid ways. Kika actually has an entire video tutorial on her channel on how to knit her Salty Days. She does this for a lot of her patterns, and I think it allows a lot of like beginner knitters who want to try making more complex knits or cable knits, textured knits. I think it allows us a lot more confidence when it goes into picking a more complicated design and feeling like, yeah, I can accomplish this. I have someone to hold my hand through the process, and if I get stuck, I can definitely figure it out with that tutorial. So I'll have that video linked down in the description if you are interested in knitting the Salty Days along with me. Maybe I could try to do a knit along if anyone would be interested. I will pin a comment down below asking if anyone is interested in a Salty Days knit along, so you can let me know if you'd be interested in joining, because I think that would be so much fun. I had the time of my life in the book club cardigan knit along, making so many friends and getting to chat about knitting and books with so many people. So I think it would be really neat if we could do a knit along together and share progress along the way. I feel like this has been nothing but Knit Picks yarn, but I do have another sweater quantity, and it was another yarn that was on sale when I was needing to purchase a yarn. I'm always playing yarn chicken and losing, so whenever I end up ordering more yarn, if I'm going to pay shipping, I might as well make it worth it, or if I add enough more, I can get that free shipping cut off. This is Knit Picks Upcycle Alpaca Blend worsted weight yarn in this beautiful chocolate brown called Latte. When I purchased this yarn, my plan was to make a chocolate brown sweater, but I don't know why I wasn't even realizing at the time I was finishing my August sweater, which is a chocolate brown sweater. And I was thinking, since I already have my brown August sweater now, maybe I could make the coffee cardigan out of this. The coffee cardigan I will pop on the screen is by Martine Jacobson, and I follow her on Instagram. She is so cool and genuine. Her bio is good things take time, and I think that is such an amazing mindset to have when it comes to knitting. Knitting is meant to be a slow-made craft, and I think that keeping your mind on that intention is so valuable. When we start to feel like we're not knitting fast enough or enough sweaters, whatever it is, good things take time. When I saw this coffee cardigan pop up on my feed, my jaw dropped. And then when I clicked on her and saw that in her bio, I immediately followed. I was like, okay, I'm obsessed with this page. I mean, come on, knitting a coffee cardigan out of a yarn called Latte, how much more perfect could it get? The next sweater's quantity of yarn in my stash is Annette Erickson's Scandi Wool in the colors Linen and Toffee. This is such a beautiful color combination, and I got this from Spotlight during their 50% off sale, along with some of their color Eucalyptus, which funnily enough, I don't have any yarn left of, even though I'm still working on that project, because it was a sweater for my son and I totally underestimated how much I need for a 2-year-old because he wears the size 5. But I am going to be making the loom sweater from Sari Nordlund out of this yarn. If you're learning anything from this video, it's that once I find a designer I really like, I just kind of cling to them and want to make all of their patterns. But I really love the design of the loom sweater, and I think it's really cool to see color work in worsted weight yarns, because I feel like I don't see that very much, and I am pretty used to knitting with worsted. I feel like I don't get as much hand pain when I knit with worsted weight yarns as opposed to like fingering weight, because I'm not having to tension as much. But my plan is for linen to be the main color, and the contrast color of the color work will be the color Toffee. I think one of my favorite things about this pattern is that not only does it have a beautiful color work design across the yoke, but it also has the same repeat of the patterns around the wrist cuff, which I think is so flattering and just such a nice detail to add. And I just think this will be a very fun knit. I had planned for this to be my first color work sweater because I thought it would be easier than something like the porcelain. But now that Mickey and I have purchased these yarns for the porcelain, I'll probably be doing doing that first just because we're so excited to start it soon together. Another yarn in my stash is I over purchased for my August sweaters. So I think I'm going to be turning the remnants of that into a Sophie shawl. My friend Haley from Haley's Space actually made one and I was so in love with it. It's not like a regular triangle shawl that you see a lot of the times. It's way more rounded and tapered, and I feel like that will be a lot more comfortable on the neck. I think it'll be a lot more practical for use when I'm throwing it on to go out. This stash yarn is so special because it is from Sorella's Eras collection when she did her Taylor Swift collection in the color Ivy. And I think it is so beautiful, but I only got one skein because this was like one of my first times purchasing hand-dyed yarn. I was really new to knitting, but I wanted to splurge, and I didn't make a plan for what I was going to make with it. I got it in cashmere DK, so I can't make socks out of it, but I only got one hank, so I don't know what to make with it. I think I was going to make this beanie, the Grow beanie, but I have made so many beanies that I don't feel like I can practically wear them all if I just keep making more. But I want to make something special. I had thought about possibly making a headband that I could wear out of this, but I just want it to be something that I'm definitely going to use, and I really want something that has a bit of a leaf motif on it, which would be so perfect with this colorway being called Ivy. I was also thinking about the Hydra mitts because I don't have any gloves yet, and I think that these would be special. They would get used during the winter. These gloves are so cute, and I think they would complement this yarn really well. My favorite feature about these mittens is that they have a double folded rib that you can either unfold and cover your hands, or you can fold it up and have your fingers exposed but have a little extra warmth around the part that is covered. And it's such a nice detail. I was actually planning to make those mitts with the remaining of my Wool Ease recycled in the color olive. I got this for my Lazy Cat cardigan by Kutovakika. I like to call it my moss cardigan because it feels like laying in a bed of moss, and it's a beautiful moss green. I also knit my husband a hat in this yarn, but it is slightly small on his head, so we often just let my son wear it. But until I do decide on something special enough for this special yarn, it is kind of just sitting in a pile of other yarns. So I really do want to come up with the perfect project for this that will honor it and get it out of my stash and in use, and I can't wait to work with it. So let me know down in the comments if you have any good cashmere DK patterns that would have like a leaf motif or just like really complement this green color. Another spotlight yarn in my stash that I picked up recently is the Four Seasons Flinders in the color Bark, which is so funny because that's the same name for this yarn, but this one is a 100% cotton yarn, and I am planning to also knit a Sari Nordlund pattern out of this. I want to make one of her tank tops. I think my plan is the Arch Lois, which I will have on the screen, and I'm probably saying it wrong. I love that she names so many of her patterns after Greek gods and goddesses, but I don't know how to pronounce them all because often when I am reading, I just make up the way they're said in my own head. If you read fantasy, then you know what I am talking about, but I think that is such a flattering design. I also really love her ballard vest and her collet top. As I've already said, I just want to knit everything she makes, but I really think that those are all very flattering and would look really good in this colorway, which is showing up a lot brighter on the screen, but in person, it's more of like a dusty burgundy. I think this is my last stash yarn to talk about. This is Annette Erickson's Eco Cotton. I also got this during the Spotlight 50% off sale. I got 3 of these 200 gram skeins, and I think my plan is to make a ranunculus out of this. I think that sounds so fun. Everyone and their mother makes a ranunculus, but they look so cute, and I really want to make one in this beautiful like eucalyptus sage green color. The fun thing about the ranunculus is you can really make it with any yarn. I've seen people make it with fingering or worsted weight yarn. I've seen people make it with cotton or mohair. You can literally do anything. I feel like with the ranunculus, the world is literally your oyster. I'm really looking forward to taking that project on probably sometime this spring or summer. But when I purchased that yarn, I was planning on making the sabai top. So I definitely still want to make that one soon because I really want a classic like boat neck camisole. I think that is so flattering and also just so versatile and wearable, which like I said, I really want to make more things that are really versatile and wearable throughout the year. I am not going to pull them all out, but I have a huge bag of 30 more of these yarns, which I talked all about in my temperature blanket video. So if you are curious about those, make sure you go and check that one out because I'm not gonna pull them all out today. It's so much to go through. But they are Hobby Amigo yarns, and I will have that video linked in the description. I am now surrounded in yarn, but I think that is all. I think we talked about all the yarns in my stash and all my plans for them. If you made it this far into the video, please let me know down in the comments if we have any project plans in common or if you got any inspiration from this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future cozy videos. I want to thank you so much for spending your time unraveling with me. Don't forget to do something that brings you comfort today, and I will be wishing you a very cozy week.